Hello and welcome to the Nature of Invisible Things, the podcast. I'm your host, Erin Kelly, and I'm so glad you're here. This is season 2, episode 19, and today I'm excited to welcome back astrologer, author, and teacher Britten LaRue and fellow self-proclaimed nerd for gnosis, just like me, and I'm assuming you are too. And if you're new here, welcome. As I mentioned, my name's Erin. You can find out more about me and my work at my website, slowmagic.com, on Instagram at slow.magic, or The Nature of Invisible Things on Substack. And so today, Britten, this is her third appearance on the podcast, and we are discussing and celebrating her 7.5 year entrepreneurial journey as an astrologer. And so we'll get to explore that a little bit and hear how she balanced her long-term vision with daily adaptability to grow her astrology business at scale. So I think this is really important because for those of us that have experience, in the marketplace, in the business world, it's one thing to have an idea. It's one thing to be an entrepreneur or a solopreneur or get something started. It's an entirely different thing to sustain and maintain that business. And it's an entirely another thing to grow it at scale. And so we'll dive into that with Britten, and we'll hear about actually how the evolution of her practice inspired Emergence Astrology and as well as her new offering, Living Emergence. And as usual, our conversation covers musings on personal and collective transformation, embracing paradox, and also offers plenty of bite-sized insights for forging your own path. And so tune in as we geek out on living emergently and becoming approachable to our future selves. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast listening app, remember you can always click the link in the show notes and watch this on YouTube. So let me reintroduce Britten to you. Britten LaRue, Master of Arts, is a teacher, author, and astrologer known for helping big-hearted humans tap into and embody their malefic parts, the fierce, boundaried, and truth-telling aspects of the self that make clarity, empowerment, and specificity possible. Through her framework of emergence astrology and her year-round ecosystem, Living Emergence, Britten guides mystics, intuitives, and creative visionaries in remembering their own wisdom and unshaming their magic. Almost said farmer, I guess a farmer in a way, a former art historian turned speech artist of astrology. Britten's teaching merges scholarly precision with intuitive revelation, inviting her students to root their magic in lived reality. She is the host of the beloved podcast Moon to Moon, co-host of Crystal Ballers, and author of Living Astrology: How to Weave the Wisdom of All 12 Signs into Your Everyday Life. At the heart of all her work is a devotion to collective transformation through intimacy and voice, helping others trust themselves again with the reckless freedom they deserve. And so you can find links to all of Britten's places in the show notes, and let's get started. Enjoy.
Yeah, when something I'll say that is, it feels very true that on the one hand, from the beginning, I had a sense for a vision that when it started to come in, it was very big and it was kind of scary. Um, because like, how do I get there when I just started an Instagram account and like, I don't have any networks in the field? Like, how do you do that? Um, And so it was like this kind of wild thing to hold a big vision while being in the moment that I'm in, which is like I would just like to have a few clients, you know,
Mhm.
and like allowing them to coexist, allowing both to coexist at the same time of like I know what is going to come, but here where I am, what could I do today to begin moving towards that and not become overwhelmed by how many steps that is and just like how kind of childlike I feel being mid adulthood but not really having a large skill set with business and entrepreneurial yeah, just like how one even does that, having come from an academic place that really like shields you and like has you believing that you're not part of a marketplace, which I think
Mm,
is really untrue. But you can believe that, and that can feel really safe about academia. I think it's like very Saturn that it was like there's a goal, but here's where I am vis-a-vis that goal. So what can be done today? And I feel like it's just like been a day to day process of staying with the vision while also staying with how things have changed. And like maybe I thought it was going to be like this, but now it's feeling like actually this is more what I would like. And am I willing to adapt and still hold the greater vision, even with the adaptations? And so, like, just kind of navigating one day at a time with like a pretty ambitious picture that I was moving towards has been what it has been. Like, truly, it's been so cyclical year to year, season to season, round to round of things as I just like keep listening and adapting while holding the vision. And I just love it as a way of life. I love it for everything that I do now.
hmm
But really, I feel like astrology helped me kind of allow pictures of cycle and change and like the complexities of these different parts of us allowed me to fall back into them to guide me in embodying this, I feel like.
Mm. Yeah, I was curious as you were talking because I've had similar experience, but more so I would say in my personal life. Like I always used to say, like, you're on the path when you can only see, like, you got the vision, so that's there. But there's usually just like one right next step that feels, aligned. And so I was curious, like, how much of your personal life and your business, like, do you see them as separate or are they kind of, do they bleed into one another?
Yeah, it's interesting. At the beginning of this entrepreneurial, mystical, erotic pathway that I started on now 7.5 years ago, um, I decided to keep a large journal for all of my life rather than
Mhm.
have multiple journals for different things because I was so sick and tired of compartmentalizing different parts of
Mhm.
myself. And I just wanted to be all the things at once and believe that there is a world where I can hold all those things at the same time in the face of maybe that, who knows, like for me to project onto someone that would be hard for them is still my projection.
Mm.
But at the time, it was like, I don't think people will understand, but I'm going to do it anyway, kind of a thing. So I would say that my life and my work feel completely interwoven. And at the same time, like one hand and in the other, I do feel it's important to kind of allow like there being a public part of me that gets to kind of fall back. And it's not that she's not there or she's not real, but she gets to like let other people do things and just like chill on the couch,
hmm
And that feels, yeah, it doesn't feel like my brand face is like a different persona than me. I do know that for some that can be a very magical move,
hmm
but for me, it's always been important to understand that I'm everywhere that I am, you know. But I
Yeah,
also know like who knows me and who doesn't know me, because
right.
very few people really know me.
Oh, I totally get
You
that.
know?
Yeah.
So that's where I need to like identify what's real is like, when am I with someone who is really holding the me that's right here in this room with them? Um, and that's not very many people. So my private life is really about like leaning into those people and loving them and letting them love me and enjoying that while I do all the other stuff.
hmm Yeah. I was just thinking like all of the different things that are involved when you begin as a solopreneur with this thing, there's like you are in the beginning, it sounds like, trying to get clients, trying to grow the network, creating a social media presence, having a way that people can find you and like book with you. And maybe that's a website. And there's all of these things. Then there's the administration of the business, and it's just a lot. And so to manage that is one thing, but then to be able to grow it at scale is another. And so I was curious, like when I say those things and you hear those things, what comes up for you?
Yeah. Um, well, definitely like the first few years, I did everything. And there was a real intelligence to that because I got to understand all these things. And I got to see myself being willing to do them, even things that like I thought I was above, so to speak. Like, am I really above that? Am I really above that? And like really interrogate these ideas about like, I shouldn't have to do that,
Hmm.
Like, why do I think I shouldn't have to do that? Like, what? So there was a lot that I got to experience. Like, for example, anything from building my website on Squarespace,
Hmm.
and like learning how to like create integrations from like a purchase at my website to MailChimp, which I also started, and like how to create templates for my emails. And um, I didn't want to be a reader who went to fairs or like events, but like maybe you'll have a good time. So
Hmm.
I would challenge myself to go, and I would always meet a handful of people that would kind of fold into what I really wanted to do. And I just got to practice and be like, now I can say that's not for me from a place of having done it.
Hmm.
So I feel like the first few years were very like Two of Pentacles, just sort of like trying lots of things, being really scrappy, like lots of challenging my ego around like I'm not that way. Oh, really? Like there was a lot of that and just kind of like, well, let's find out. And you know,
I
like
love it.
uh yeah, I've met actually incredible people at fairs that I've never done again. But like those were like key moments that led to this other thing that led to a thing. And like, wow, what if I hadn't gone because I was like, I'm not doing fairs?
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like at the beginning, what was so helpful is just learning to practice challenging my like protector parts that think I don't have to do things, but are really just parts of me that are afraid of being like rejected or unliked.
Hmm.
Because that kind of grit, then I was able to take into expansion. And because I knew what I wanted in MailChimp and I knew what I wanted from a user experience in my website, I was then able, when I could afford it, to be very clear with the people who want to support me so that I do know what I want and I can guide you into helping me with what I want so that you're not doing something and then I'm frustrated because I didn't actually even know what was involved in the work. I feel like that allowed me to be someone that I can trust in as like a boss or like a work colleague because I actually have an understanding of what people are doing for me, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, I think knowing what you want, and then that's like a huge thing also, just on so many different levels. Like being okay with wanting something,
Yeah.
wanting more for yourself, and wanting, starting to like to see the vision, to see the big vision, and to start to make steps towards it. And I think that challenging of the self, like that's such valuable information for, I think, in many different areas of people's lives. It's like if your first inclination might be this or that, to just take a beat and examine it, and you might really be surprised by like what you find. Like I
Yeah.
found, for example, transition was particularly challenging for me at times, and so I would like bargain with myself, and I'm like, just go, and if you don't like it, come home.
Yeah, totally.
But once I was there, I was fine. It was the movement from like one place to another that really for some reason would trip me up. It made no sense.
Yeah. And like that really showcases how it is like an inner child thing. Like
Hmm.
it is younger parts that
Yeah.
have these pictures. So we have to like play parent to them. Just go find out. Yeah, that's been so much of it, I would say, along the way to moving through these different cycles and just finding out that like every desired thing is going to bump me up against more of these protectors and more of these controllers. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And like, oh, you do want that? Well, let's go find out what happens, you know? And then it's required, like, there's been a lot of like humility and just like death in the process of the parts of me that were like really trying to be controlling and just
Hmm.
needed to surrender, let go in some way, or find out that I'm okay without these things that I thought I needed for my own protection. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when I found your work, it was early 2021, I want to say. And at what point, like, was it pretty early on that you were like, I actually don't want to do readings anymore? And I'm curious if you could, because I feel like that is a really powerful moment that I would like to hear more about because so much of, I think, perception of what an astrologer does for the most part is like do one-on-one readings, in terms of
Yeah.
like perception. There's lots more different ways people can be an astrologer, but I'm just curious about that.
Yeah. I had that with readings and then I had it with forecasts and
Hmm.
horoscopes. But with readings, I think it was probably more into like 2022, where I had by then some pretty solid course containers on the ground and just felt so happy in the teaching position, which is my background. And having done a bunch of writing, then with the self-published workbooks, I also knew like I want the time to write. And so I started to feel like a couple things. One, that what I was saying in readings was often I was like repeating myself because I was noticing that we're all holding these same things.
Mm.
And it began to be like, wow, I think it would be more efficient if I could just say that thing to more people and rather than saying it in these like little hour and a half containers all the time. It just started to feel to like the Capricorn parts of me like the more efficient thing to do.
Hmm.
And then yeah, just started when I started to feel into like what I could do with the time that I was saving from not doing the readings and focusing on more like free content for podcast, Instagram, newsletter, as well as container framework, paid, pay port, like there's a pay portal kind of containers. It
Hmm.
just started to feel like this is something I need to let go of, at least for now.
Yeah.
I still like to do some one-on-ones, but I feel like it really helps me reconnect with like the human pulse and like the fur and hair and like skin and pores of humans, you
Right.
know?
Their excretions.
It like you can get really like the intimacy of it is really impactful. But I feel like my community containers are very intimate too, you know?
Hmm.
So I do feel I get the intimacy with the groups as well because it feels like people are sharing in my spaces from such a heart place that I don't feel like, oh, I there's more out of a cup that I'm not getting from this cup. I want more. I really do get it.
Hmm.
Um, and then like the forecast, I just got tired of like the work of it when I wanted to talk about other things. But I loved forecasts and I loved horoscopes. It just became like you can't do everything.
Hmm. Yeah, I've dabbled a tiny bit in horoscope, like for maybe one or two ingresses of things that I love, like Venus moving into Pisces, like just kind of playing around. And it was fun. And I wrote a forecast for a while, but have since kind of moved away. I don't know if I'll move back though. Like that's the thing I have learned to say is like never say, never just maybe no, not right now, because yeah, for whatever reason, I it just didn't. I got, dare I say, a little bored talking about astrology in that way. Like, was it
Hmm.
valuable? Yes. In terms of like seeing clients, the fact that I had written forecasts, like it was really easy to talk about trends on both annual and like time period scale because I'd been looking at it all the time. But yeah, I just kind of lost the magic or the mojo and wanted to talk about more of the experiential of like what is it like to be in practice. And again, I think you said embodiment, like the embodiment of these feelings or experiences, thoughts, like all of the things that go along with being human. And then I think also what I found recently was it's hard knowing that my experience of life is so different from many other people. It felt strange knowing everything that's happening and only really being able to write it from my perspective. Like, so I was
Yeah.
bored slash maybe frustrated a little bit with my own capacity to encompass an answer, you know?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I really resonate with that a lot.
But what you're
Yeah.
saying about the way that it happened, though, it sounds very emergent. You know, it was like you had created these other learning containers and community experiences for people, found that really satisfying. And so it was more of like a gradual reallocating your time and energy, just more of a natural thing versus a specific calling, I'd
Yes.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I now I'm remembering I used to do the first half of my career a lot of like new moon
Hmm.
groups, and it was a great way to go into other people's spaces and meet people, and I've met amazing people through those experiences, and I really got to grow confidence in my ability to talk about the signs and the moon in ways that were impactful. But I think in all of these things, I was like, some part of me wanted to find like a my own way, and it felt like new moon groups is like an established way that is like was too it was like not a template I was fitting inside anymore. So I
Hmm.
also walked away from that.
Yeah, but it's still so much part of like you walked away from that maybe format, but like I see it echoed in your it's like a foundation.
It is.
And instead of maybe talking about the foundation, now we're talking about the other things like on the house, you know,
Yeah,
that is like you're like
totally.
we're talking about the construction and the rooms and the decor and the, you know, the people in it.
Yeah,
And
I
the
mean, emergence like is a
right,
new moon thing.
totally. I just couldn't help. Oh, can we talk about the name or Emergence Astrology for a minute or just
Hmm.
emergence? So I'll just tell you, like, for me, I just find it so fascinating because to me, it does feel very Aries. Like, it does feel very like first house. And like, I know you're in Aries rising. So it's hard for me not to think, well, of course, that's part of like who you are. Like, what, like, Aries is like that emergent energy. It is that it's very similar to first house energy in a way
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
we're all emergent in our first house, even if it isn't Aries, you know?
Yeah.
So thinking about that. So I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about like the emergence and what it means to you.
Yeah. Well, it first really took hold of me from this quote in Toko Turner's book on belonging.
It's a good one.
I have it. I have my book right here, and I can share the quote
Oh
if that
yeah,
would be fun.
I think it'd be
This
fun.
is the source of my obsession with emergence. Emergence never happens all at once. Like, first of all, like that right there is like a whole healing path for me.
Hmm.
Emergence never happens all at once. It is a slow stepping into the expanded capacity of your next self. You may need practice at releasing in those places where you've grown accustomed to bracing, which, like a tight swaddle, was comforting in its limits. But when the time to remain hidden comes to its natural end, you must begin to inhabit your new dimensionality. Breathe into the fullness of your gaining altitude and consider that what presents itself as fear may actually be exhilaration. As your future approaches you, worry less how it may receive you and say a prayer instead to your becoming approachable.
I love that. I know I've read that. Yeah, that's so amazing to think about it because there's so many different ways the word emergence is used in like our world. And so I love this idea of like the personal emergence, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's like both personal and collective,
Hmm.
given like it has a connection to the idea of bird murmuration and the idea of a local idiosyncratic shift in one being affecting the collective movement. So I love that picture about our emergence having collective impacts, which I think is always happening all the time, whether we're really devoted to it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the so much the word approachable because being approachable to that which is emerging, because it really like affects me somatically when I imagine being approachable to
Mm.
something kind of wild or different, chaotic, new. And that like we have this picture that like the our potential is sort of like out there and we need to like unlock the path to becoming our potential. But this picture feels like it's already here. I'm just becoming approachable to it. So to be approachable would be to be like softer,
Hmm.
and more relaxed and being able to receive it, which to me just feels like the move. Because most of us have learned the move of like going out and getting it.
Hmm. That, and I also think there's this level of acceptance.
Hmm.
Ooh, how much like that is like a whole topic, I think, of on its own. It's like to be able to, because to accept one thing means to no longer be in denial. And because everything is relational, it's not so easy, as we were talking about earlier, the compartmentalization, to live in what's authentic in the moment, what's true in the moment means that the acceptance of complexity, the acceptance of nuance, the acceptance of the both and. And sometimes I think we are so good at blocking out the whole thing because there's a part of it that is difficult to accept.
Hmm.
I mean, I know just speaking for like a big thing for me when I found your work was I didn't want to put myself out there because there was a chance that I could do harm.
Yeah.
So part of like I couldn't reconcile the two for a while. I had to like sit with it and kind of become approachable to the fact that I cause harm just by the fact of my existence.
Yeah.
And that was like, whoo, that was big.
It really is.
Hmm.
It is a doozy to swallow.
Yeah. I think it's still going down, if I'm honest. But
Yeah. There's such, I think, fierceness. It was for me, like a fierceness grew on the other side of that death. Because it's like I feel like almost like it peeled me back deeper into life or something.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's that? I've heard you quote before, feeling more means feeling
Oh,
more.
feeling more means feeling more. Yeah. I really believed that like I'm gonna get to a place where I'm healed and then I'll never feel pain again.
Right.
Like, wait, what? feeling more, just feeling more. But yeah, I do think, life, death, life. Here we are in Scorpio season.
Hmm.
There's some scary things, there's some deathly things that
Yeah.
we can let move through our systems. And then we're like, oh, I'm actually more part of this place now.
Yeah, I was thinking of this idea of like the known versus the unknown in my own personal life and how we fear so much the unknown because it's uncertain, and then we can cling to some of these things that are less ideal, but we know them, the devil we know, right? Like they're certain, like we're certain of those outcomes or we're certain of those stories. And how there's this strange relationship, like the unknown is only defined by like what is known, and the relationship like kind of playing with that concept, and this idea of like what is me, what is not me is like a similar kind of way to like play with that interaction. And it's been a really juicy place of contemplation of late, because it's
Mm-hmm.
speaking of like what it's revealed. Yeah, I've seen some parts of myself that, or parts that I might have othered because of this whole not being approachable to what they are. Like, I can't possibly be that because I'm this.
Yes. And this gets to like why I think unshaming is so amazing and why astrology is like the perfect language for unshaming is because unshaming is about embracing paradox, these two parts that aren't supposed to be together, we were told. And then astrology has squares and polarities built into its design. So it already is showing us how to hold these things.
I would love to hear, could you talk a little bit more about like unshaming and emergence and kind of how
Yeah.
you see those two kind of together?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just brought up an
Hmm.
example. I'm going to cause harm is
Hmm.
coming from, on the one hand, like, I mean, it's coming from a shame place that's actually it's rooted in a big heart, you know?
Right.
And like if you go all the way back, there's a kind of grief that like, oh, we live in this planet where we could like step on bugs and we didn't even mean to,
Hmm.
you know? Like their death's just like happening all the time. And like, and maybe the child self we saw ourselves as bad and inherently there's something wrong with us. It's a child's perspective, the original shame stuff.
Hmm.
And then we're carrying around those lenses into adulthood. So, to like be in emergence to me in the becoming approachable piece, like we will naturally bump up against a part of us that's like, I can't allow that softness to happen because I'm bad. Fill in the blank, whatever the language we each have. And then the unshaming is like really separating that part of you out so you can talk to the age that believes it and help them like look at you as the caretaker, the one that's guiding them and helping them understand the world from this like larger soul you that you have been cultivating as an adult. Shame came into my astrology practice because what I noticed in client ratings and in all my classrooms is all engagements with the chart were encounters with shame. It's like we're going to the same place every time. Like how to let this in, how to believe that we deserve this sky, like how to believe that we could be connected to these planets, how to let their love in, especially when we're healing from coloniality, extraction, just only seeing things in terms of their use value for us. And we don't want to do that to the moon, you know?
Yeah.
But then we're like cutting off the bridge between our heart and the moon from a shame place that of where we're like genuinely sincerely healing from coloniality. So
Yeah.
it was like, wow, this is in every space that I'm holding. I feel like what we need to be talking about is shame.
Hmm.
And hence came the project. And that just became like, oh, this is why it makes sense that I'm not putting all of my time and attention in some of those other ways I could do astrology because, oh, this is the kind, and I think we can all find that, like we realize like this is the kind of conversation I want to be having, and then
Hmm.
we can have it.
Yeah, I love how diverse astrology can be because if you speak to some folks, they will, and rightly so, say that astrology shows the timing of the life. And like there's definitely truth to that. And that you don't be nobody believes in astrology because it's like believing in the weather. And I'm like, yes, but also I believe weather has a spirit, water, like all the elements have a spiritual component. So to me, there is a connection to where it does go into the realm of belief or faith. And one of the things that I'm hearing you say, and like the way that it has opened for you, is it's language to help give voice to or to help name some of these things, like through polarity, like through the squares. And that was one thing that I felt at home because all of a sudden I had the language to describe parts of myself that I didn't have words for before until I found astrology. So it's kind of hard not to, and then the changes, that start to happen, the synchronicity, all of these things in the life that begin to open and unfold, and we become approachable to, that are emerging, all of these things that we've been talking about. So it's hard for to say, I don't believe in it, or it's not something that you can believe in when it has been like a therapeutic modality for some, you know?
Right. And I do think, I don't know, maybe cosmology would be a word that could be
Hmm.
helpful for some, but that doesn't mean that's how everyone relates to astrology. I
Right.
really don't know how to relate to astrology in some of these other ways. Like, I think it's
Mhm.
very magical, the things people can do with astrology that I have no idea how to do.
Right.
Like, it like moves through me in a particular way that is, I don't, part of unshaming is like allowing myself not to need to be an expert in every way someone does astrology. It's like, I just want to be into my way, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think what I'm feeling into now is like I have a very particular way that I engage with it. And yet I am in some spaces where it's a system of time telling. And they look at it as a clock, which there is that too, and then being told that that's basically like the only way that it's looked
Yeah.
at. And then feeling the shame that I'm wrong because I have some, but again, no one shamed me. It was me having the experience of, oh, I'm wrong because this other person is an expert and I am engaged in learning from them. And so then it's like that moment of being like, but wait a minute, like my experience is valid. And there are some very amazing things that happen, like when you engage with it in all sorts of ways that aren't, to me, have anything to do with time.
And al- also, like, time is like the most mystical thing ever.
Totally.
Like, time is the cool thing, and it's so mysterious. Um, Clocks are so mysterious. Like, think about the number of things in life that are tied to mystery from when, like, a clock is wrong, or like,
Hmm.
there's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's such to me, like, I just can't do like a materialist an only materialist
Same.
pick relationship. It just is not alive enough feeling for me. But I mean, that's why we're all different.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to like reshame the person who
Yes,
has the view
totally,
because
totally.
I get it, like that, it makes sense for their worldview and how they utilize it. And I'm totally down with that. But yeah, it's just, it's incredible in that way. And so,
And I just want to add one more thing
yeah,
there.
do it.
Sometimes, like when I go all the way with a text that's kind of written that way, I'll like plunge all the way in this like I'm receiving what this person is delivering, and I'll find so much metaphysical stuff in there. Like
Oh,
I'll
totally.
find that we can find the poetry and the metaphysics in like anything. So I think that sometimes those texts are really fun because they're just like great opportunities to dive in and see what you can go find inside of like what might otherwise be like very technical.
Oh, for sure. I feel that way about, this is going to sound weird, the Bible. I
Yeah.
don't read the Bible really. I mean, I did growing up, obviously. But I was in one of my containers and like I was every time I just realized I kept using like these biblical examples, but I was using the esoteric, not the exoteric.
Hmm.
And then I had this like epiphany of like how esoteric the Bible actually is if you read it with that lens and not in the way everyone takes it right now, you know,
Yeah.
and how, yeah. So if you can find, if you can find, and actually, that's like a big deal to like this reconciliation that can happen when you open to like what's emergent and becoming approachable. 2, 3 years ago, part of me would have been like, I don't want anything to do with anything from Christianity at all.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And emergently, it's like, that's fun.
And emergently, it's fun to kind of see all the things that are like actually in there. Yeah. It's that's fascinating. So what I would love to talk about, Britain, now is like what is up in your work currently? What are you working on? What's been cooking in the kitchen?
Much has been cooking, Aaron.
Do
Uh,
tell.
As you know, but listeners may not know, I started an entirely new thing called Living Emergence. It's just beginning. It's different than anything I've ever done because it's not doesn't have a clear end because it's
Mhm.
like according to words we use in the marketplace, you would call it a membership with a subscription model. So I'm really leaving it to the participant to know when they feel complete, you know? And this just started to grow starting last year. Just really sensing like I wish I had a place where everyone could just stay as long as they want. And like we could do things with the whole wheel of the year and not just a fraction of the wheel of the year. And we could do all the lunar cycles and we could just be with time, basically. Speaking of time, that we
Mhm.
could be with the mysticism of time, practicing emergence and also practicing like the hard parts about being approachable together, celebrating this together, having really great conversations and great banter. So I really took my time with it. Listeners, Aaron gave me a reading for my solar return in March.
That's so fun.
And the two phrases that came through for you, I guess like psychically first, were
What are,
transfiguration and
mhm.
move home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It was, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say. I'd have to go back and like look at the recording to say exactly what it was. But yeah, there were things that came up that were related to home and change.
yeah. Yeah. And
Definitely.
it was like, are you moving? And it was like,
Oh,
at the
right.
time, there was no moving except I hadn't really said fully yes to this happening. And we didn't know that like a month or so later, Matt was going to move homes. And now I'm taking over his previous apartment as my office
Oh,
space.
that's
So there was
incredible.
a little bit of literal home moving, but
Yeah.
this is a huge home moving because I'm in an entirely new platform, like learning all the things, like building out the design. I've just been in like the my usual thing in the Teachable platform for years now. So it really does feel like I moved us to a totally new location. And like there's so much room to grow, but we're just taking up like a little bit of space, as we're just
Yeah.
getting like the first room built out. But it was a home move. And then
Wow.
transfiguration is like another way of saying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and that's a word like I've stopped censoring myself when I give readings. I feel like I just have to trust. And that's scary for me because going back to like not wanting to do harm, like the word transfiguration depending on your orientation, it's a scary word. You know? And so a couple times like I would check in, I'm like, I don't think and it was like, no. And so I was brave to share it and you were brave in receiving it. But I'm so thrilled to know how it has materialized or how it has shown up in your life.
Yeah, I remember you were like, "Are you going to have a white streak through your hair?
Yeah, I was
Are you going
like,
to turn into rainbow beams?"
yeah, like because I wasn't so right. There's so many words that are similar, and so after I was in that space, I went and I Googled it just to make sure it was the right thing. And like the very first thing that came up was Jesus's metamorphosis when he rose on the third day, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, okay, all right. But it's another way of transformation.
Yeah,
But I think
yeah.
it's transformation that also has some sort of like physical or structural component to it. So it's not just like internal transformation or like psychological transformation, which can be part of it, but it's this solve et coagula into like a new
Yeah,
form transformation. Yeah.
that everyone can see.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really, like when I first heard it, it was like, well, geez, I hope I don't die. That would be kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Joking slash not joking. Yeah, once things just kind of naturally were rolling and I suddenly remembered it because I had forgotten it. And then in the summer, I was like, oh my gosh, wait, transfiguration. And I feel like I thought of it. And the very day I thought of it, you DM'd me. It was so magical.
Yes, it was I don't remember exactly how it came about, but we ended up having a conversation about it because I had gotten pinged about it for something and then I was like I pinged you about yeah. It was
You
just
and you were reading about the gene keys.
yes, that's what it was. So I was reading about a gene key for me, which I don't have that one, but they're all connected. They have relations to one another, and transfiguration came up.
It's like 47, I think.
Yeah, I
I don't
don't
think I have
remember.
that one defined, or if that's the word, I can't remember.
Yeah, but it
But
was just interesting to read what it said about
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was helpful to get some language that wasn't so Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But I mean, I also saw that he's not the only, Jesus is not the only
No.
figure who's been known to transfigure. Yeah, it's funny because I wrote one of my favorite papers I ever wrote in grad school was on I used to write about the work of this black and white illustrator from the 1890s in England named Aubrey Beardsley. I don't know if you're familiar.
Mm-mm.
He did this set of drawings. I think it was Rape of the Lock by somebody Pope in the 17th century. His poem, The Rape of the Lock. And so it was set in this kind of Rococo environment. And so he used this style of like little dots to fill it in. And he, at the, in the title place, it was like embroidered by Aubrey Beardsley. So he used this word embroider
Mm.
to say what he did, even though, of course, we know, obviously, he drew it, but he was evoking this other hand art form. And so my paper, like the whole thing was on the transfiguration of the line.
Oh, I love
Funny
that. That is
uh,
funny.
that I have this like background with that word from that paper, but I haven't thought any further on like what does that mean beyond this. But yeah, so that's been what I've been doing is just kind of what I'm hoping in a kind of transfiguration vibe is that, and it's feeling this way, that it sort of like alchemizes all of the work that I've done over those 7.5 years now into something else, that's
Hmm.
like bigger, lighter,
Hmm.
like freer. It almost feels like Capricorn into Aquarius, actually,
Mm.
now that I'm articulating it.
Hmm.
Like the heavier structures of classrooms in a school space, moving into this like other paradigm that's like lifted off the ground and has become an Aquarian space.
Yeah, I can see that. I also like what I thought was really cool and smart about it, in addition to the work that you've done, the bodies of work that you've done, that is one larger body of work over time, is also just how social, I think, is a place where, I mean, a lot of us will still continue to be, but there's been some, I want to say, like disillusionment because of AI and other things and surveillance culture of like what's happening. Like people have kind of divested, I've noticed a little bit, from social spaces, but yet we still have a craving for that. And so to have a space that also functions, you have this like subscription model, but there is a community component to it as well. And so for folks that are still, I think it's like a nice alternative where it feels more welcoming perhaps, or maybe where it feels more, you have something in common with the other folks. Like it is a very Aquarian or 11th house space in that sense, I guess I would say. You know, it's like
Yeah.
people you know and people that you have share a worldview with or have something in common with. And that something in common could be the practice of belief, what have you, with astrology, or it could be the other work, your body of work as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too. I mean, I know from, I never set out to be like a community
Mhm,
gatherer. I always just wanted to teach my things, but I'd always found that astrology becomes like a language of connecting.
mhm,
And magic is a place for connecting. And so between my different spaces, I just saw people having these incredible connections and affections and delights and being together. And over the years, they've all been in their own the little
mhm.
containers. Some people have done many of them, and some people have maybe done one. You all would know what I mean. And so I love the idea of like a bigger space where everybody can be, and also for like the magicians of the magician's table, when it ends, you could be in living emergence while you're integrating, and you can still see people and have like the structure that it has to
Mhm.
replace the kind of like that aftermath of the magician's table can
Yeah.
sometimes, I know I hear from people, be a little disorienting. And so
I laugh because I've been through it, not because it's not. It's both funny and it's a reality, right? Yeah. Hmm.
and some of that's just not having a regular place to go to connect and hang out with these great people, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm saying what I think it is, but I also know that until we're in and we're all like allowing it to breathe, like I'm seeing like the lungs breathing, like
Hmm.
I'm gonna find out more about what it is once we're all playing in there. So
Right.
that's very fun. And I think that my stewardship is now at a place that I can handle the unknown of that because I've just been practicing emergence
Hmm.
for a number of years now. And I'm going to let it be grow and change with time,
Yeah.
like like myself.
I think that's smart. I used to, and I still talk about this too. I used to always just want to arrive and
Yes,
like, ta-da, I'm done.
me too.
And like, there's no finish line,
I know there's
know?
no arrival.
Yeah, there isn't. And so like I've gotten I'm less I don't know, I'm still pretty impatient. I've noticed. I still get frustrated with my own lack of being able to. I think when you were talking about the beginning about having a vision and then moving towards it, it's like there's something about me. Maybe it's because I have Uranus and Rahu conjunct my Mars. Like I just want to close that gap like right
Oh,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like just need to do it. It's like a compulsion that it's hard to explain. But yeah, being open to it be its own like living, breathing entity. And so like right now you're in a softer launch phase of
I
it.
just finished the very soft launch.
Hmm.
So only a handful of people were invited because I wanted to bring in the past and present community first. And then November 4th through 20th, anyone can come in. It's the public, the official founders launch. And
Hmm.
in this window, it's like, in my mind, it's the like lowest pricing that it will have. And then it will, I can't even say at this point, like when I'll open the doors again. It could be December, it could be April, it could be, I really don't know. I know that ideally you always have the doors open for memberships, but I can do whatever I want, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah, you can always change it.
Yeah. So I just know that it does make me feel like stronger to have a closed door moment. We can initiate and kind of begin together, and then I'll think about opening doors again whenever I'm available to think about opening doors again.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious, I mean, this might be not the right time to ask this question, but so would folks that participate in the magician's table have an invitation no matter if the doors are open or closed, if they've gone through that? Does that
Yeah.
sound?
I
Yeah.
don't, I think that, yeah, I'm not sure. Like, let's say someone joins Living Emergence now and
Hmm.
then they leave and then they want to come back. I don't know yet what my rule is going to be. Like, you have to wait till the doors are open.
Gotcha.
But I do know that when I get into TMT promo, like January,
Hmm.
that I will have decided financially, like what kind of gift I want to give incoming magicians regarding Living Emergence,
Hmm.
and also vice versa, a gift giving Living Emergence members who want to do TMT. Like for sure, there's going to be some kind of price break to help people be able to do both.
Hmm.
Not everybody who does the magician's table is going to want to be in Living
Totally.
Emergence. And not everyone who does Living Emergence is going to want to be in the magician's table. But I like to be able to like help people who are doing multiple things.
Hmm.
And I feel like Living Emergence will be an amazing space for those who aren't quote unquote ready for the magician's table, which for some people can be years.
Yeah,
Where they're like, I just don't know. Because the magician's table is extremely intense. Um,
I know. But like there's parts, yeah, I love that stuff though.
yeah.
I'm like,
Many people like
give
that's
it
what they
to
like
me.
about it. Like they don't want a lighter space. But for many, like just do Living Emergence until you're like, okay, I can do it now, you know?
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, I
Then you can
realized,
fall back into Living Emergence after the intensity of Magician's Table to just integrate. Go ahead. Sorry, what were you going to say?
no, there's no need to apologize. I was just thinking like I've one of the things I've been softening to or becoming approachable to is my own intensity.
Do
Like,
you
holy fuck. You know?
unshaming your intensity?
Unshaming my intensity. Like, no one, like, I don't know. Do you ever have those moments? Are you ever granted those moments where you have a glimpse of how other people experience you or see you? And they're both humbling and beautiful and um they're filled with so much love, but they're very like they're also very transparent or very like the spotlight is on, the overhead light, the big light is on. You can
The
see
big
everything.
light.
The big light is on. Like I've had one of those recently and I was like, holy shit. Like, but then I'm I'm okay with that. I'm also like
Yeah.
okay with it. I'm making peace with it. I'm becoming approachable to it.
I do think that's like unshaming the malefics, unshaming the
Yeah.
malefic parts of us. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think for me that has been in like the terror if people really saw my standards, like wanting to like soften the intensity of my standards,
Mhm.
um, has been one that I've like walked with so that I could get to a place where I understand what is what is the like colonial overworking like grind that I am healing and what is just like high standards.
Totally. Yeah. I feel, oh my God, I'm there. I feel the same way with commitment in relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we are going all the way, you know? It's
Uh-huh.
like, I think we've talked about this before, either privately or possibly another podcast, but maybe it was privately. I feel like I've talked to you about this before, but there's this moment where like you can be a scholar of something, or which is totally wonderful and fine and enough for most people, I'm sure. But then you can actually like use that knowledge and have it become gnosis or embodied wisdom from like the practical use of it. And yeah, and if you're interested in like learning some more of these maybe malefic arts, perhaps somebody would describe it that way. Like there's a fork in the road,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And what
Yeah.
I've discovered is that there's a fork in the road, but you also can have a machete and cut your own way through.
Totally. I love it.
You can go off trail. But yeah, that's the commitment, like I've been in this realization of like when you were saying standards, like I connected with that for a moment because I feel that way, like with commitment to like what I'm practicing and commitment.
Yeah, that feels like good language for what I mean here. Because there's
Yeah.
lots of things I don't give a shit about.
Yeah.
Like if I have a spelling mistake, whatever.
Totally.
You know what I don't want one, but I mean, by standards, yeah. I mean, like this kind of all the way intensity of like my soul and all parts of me have walked this,
Mhm.
and that's like in there.
Yeah. It's like I'm gonna see it through
Hmm.
to the end. I mean, and knowing that it might grow and shape and change, and there might be like switchbacks, a few meanders around there. Like it's not necessarily a straight line, I think, but the commitment is important. And not necessarily like you said with all things, but I think that's what I realized too, and how that must seem on the outside, you know?
Yeah. I had a human design reading once,
Ooh.
and in many ways, I feel like my body graph startled me more than my chart.
Hmm.
Um, I have seven defined centers,
Oh, wow.
manifesting generator, and there's just like a lot that's filled in.
Aren't there seven in
Or is
total?
that I have
I
five?
don't actually know, so that's why I'm
No,
asking.
I think there's nine
Okay,
because we think of the seven chakras and there's two more. So it's
gotcha.
very filled in, which means
Yeah,
like you're really in your way, you know?
yeah.
And she was like, do people find you difficult?
Wow.
But like, I'm over here like, no, I'm a Pisces. I'm not difficult at all. And it was like, there's my Aries and Capricorn, like very loud and clear from that body graph. Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting.
But I think getting older and allowing yourself to be like a difficult woman is just like
Hmm.
the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it's yes. And perhaps that's what it is. So like my it's interesting, like my friend introduced me years ago to this comedian named Eliza Schlesinger. Have you heard
Okay.
of her?
Uh-uh.
She has this bit she does. I'll post it in the show notes if anybody wants to see it. I can probably find it somewhere where she talks about like being the she dragon, like
Mhm.
when your date goes home and you're in your own space and you get to basically let the dragon out, you know? And I think perimenopause, menopause, it's just about being the dragon all the time,
Right.
right? Like you don't number one, like she becomes so powerful, you can't contain
Yeah.
her anymore.
No, no, no. These are those like humbling surrender death moments of like, I can't contain this anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have it in me to care. It's like that's boring to me. That's why I'm like obsessed these boredoms I'm teaching right now
Hmm.
because right, like not being seen in the dragon sounds boring. Where my younger self like really felt like that was like a threat to my existence.
Hmm.
I didn't even know I had a dragon, frankly.
Yeah, it is
Cheers,
great.
cheers to aging.
Yeah, I'm excited. And also like there are times where the grief pops back in
Yeah.
where I have these like soft moments of um the the woman who could put the dragon away. I'm like sometimes it would be really great to have her show up again. I would probably, I don't know. I would like to be able to have the both and.
I know people in my life that would really like it if I could.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I grieve what's happened to our relationships now that I can't,
Hmm.
you know.
That would be a really fun thing to chat about some time because, emergence is emergence, and then there's the practice or praxis of staying open to what's there and becoming, right? And for me, I look at that as a devotion. Like I'm devoted to the change, I'm devoted to mystery, I'm devoted to, I'm committed. I'm committed
Hmm.
to this path, right? But there is the way that changes the shape of the life around you and the people in it. And there's a whole, so it's something that I haven't really articulated too much out loud, so I might not be doing it justice at the moment. But it does change things significantly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm teaching this free series right now called The Nine Boredoms of the Rightful Betty.
Hmm.
And I'm realizing with each boredom I'm covering, which is like that kind of I don't give a shit anymore about that. Um, it's grief.
Yeah.
There's grief that to move through with all the different bridges to more empowerment.
Hmm.
Really.
Yeah. And one thing I found that's also under the grief is rage
Oh
and
yeah.
anger. Like the grief can be a pussycat compared to the tiger that's underneath there. But it's all part of it, right? Like going back to like feeling more is feeling more. And I also wouldn't trade it. That's another thing. Like I don't have, do I have possibly some regret about how I may have said or, how I got on to the path?
Hmm.
Possibly. I
Hmm.
definitely like set some things on fire like on the way out. But like if you think about like if you repress, just to use dragon imagery and analogy, if you've not let that dragon breathe, if you've not let it, if you've contained it for so long, it's like, yeah, there's gonna be, there might be some sort of inflammatory thing that happens. There was for me
Yeah,
too.
that's very true. And there's intelligence to what we needed to in order to get out of something or to
Yeah.
move ourselves. Like we didn't yet have all the capacity to do it in a different kind of way. Like that was just what we had in our toolkit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Like I
Yeah.
think for me, I have a lot of regret around like projecting maybe like making someone else bad so that I could leave.
Yeah.
Kind of things like that, where
Yeah.
you look back and you're like, no, I just really wanted to leave and I didn't know how else to do it except
Yes.
with that story.
I can see some of that too, where I probably could have shared a little bit more about like what was happening for me and like why, like not that you need to explain yourself ever, but yeah, like I've been reflecting on relationships in particular have been a topic that has come up for me recently, front and center. At first house, finished a first house perfection. Going back to the polarity, right? Changes in the first house impact the seventh for sure. Plus the nodes are there right now. So there's a lot going on.
There's a lot.
There's a lot going on. But I've had some, I guess, epiphanies of where had I been approachable and accepting what my wants and desires were and have been able to like articulate that to
Hmm.
other people, I might not have had to like go no contact or scorched earth in particular ways, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
So similar.
I think that, yeah, just unshaming is such a helpful practice here.
Yeah.
And there's always, you never know when like timelines will reconnect us with different people.
Hmm.
And we, it's just so beautiful when like you can have another kind of go at something with someone.
Yeah.
But now you're both in different places, and there's
Hmm.
something so beautiful about that. And I hold out hope for that with certain relationships, but you can't force other people.
Yeah.
So,
I do too. I do too. Um, and so right now, Living Emergence is going to open publicly for the first time November 4th and
yes.
through the 20th, right? So that's the
Yes. The day of the 20th is the initiation for those who can make it.
mhm. And then it's a monthly program. If you could tell like a little bit more about like
Yeah.
what people would expect if they aren't familiar.
It's got like a central component. What I'm thinking of is like from a gaming perspective, the main quest, which is the monthly zodiacal like round,
Hmm.
and what we move through in a season, and just like being with the wheel of the year. Um, so then there's also like a library of my teachings for the self learners, for those who want to brush up or deepen or dive into some of my core teachings. That's all just there for you. Then I'm going to have these like kind of almost like at a gym where there's different types of like workouts. We're going to have different workouts.
I'm averse to the word gym. I'm like maybe a playground with different
Playground. Okay.
different
Find your
for me,
word,
for
y'all.
me, for me.
Find your word to practice different kinds of
Yeah.
relationships to power through the lens of the planets. And these will be practice spaces, is the idea. So
Hmm.
you're not in a passive position. There's other things there. There's going to be like kind of a hermit style move through challenges in the major arcana that will deepen your relationship to your mysticism and just be fun if you're like a nerd for your own esoteric process and
Hmm.
intuitive gifts.
Nerd for gnosis.
Nerd for gnosis. Oh my
Nerdy
God.
for
Quote you when I
gnosis.
use that.
Totally.
Amazing. Exactly. Like to me, it has like a nerdy component. The whole of the space has like kind of a nerdy component. It has like a big, bleeding heart component. It has like a bantery, playful wit component. I want people to come and be able seasonally to be with the space how they are in that season. So if you're in a season where you want to be like in the dark and in your own cave, engage with it like that. If you want to be like coffee shop, we're talking over books together, be like that. Like it's a
Hmm.
place that you can count on where that's holding you as you're learning and experiencing navigating life. And emergence is important to you.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds
So,
beautiful. So, Britton, if you think about it from an archetypal or major arcana or maybe even zodiacal sign description, how would you describe like the people that what have you noticed about the types of people that are attracted to your spaces or your work?
okay, yeah, I would say that I tend to attract a lot of Gemini energy, Virgo, Pisces polarity. Cancer, Capricorn. I feel like for me, always like my ideal is the Leo Aquarius, but I don't
Mm,
necessarily see that as much reflected. Yeah, I feel like the Gemini, I think it's because of my Jupiter in Gemini.
mm,
And like there's like a high desire to talk, and
yeah.
like nerd out on stuff
Hmm.
and like play with words to delight one another, and just like be wowed at the kind of conversation you can have. But I have a lot of like that Virgoan desire to deeply care for how you live,
Hmm.
with a Piscean kind of big-hearted wanting to feel and believe in like your capacity to feel and connect to greater meaning. Those are some real strong streaks in my space. Would you say that? Or I'm kind of curious what you would
Yeah.
say.
I mean, I have not engaged with the all of the spaces, but the one thing that I would say, and maybe this is a thing I'm working on. I just want to preface this before I say it, is that I'm having the realization about how different I actually am. Like the personal is universal and the universal is personal, and there's some of that, but I'm realizing like there's some things about me going back to like the commitment and the intensity that not everybody shares and that, or not everybody is choosing to employ in this moment or in the moment that we're together. So I just want to say that. But I was saying like people who are like interested in the malefics, I would say
Oh,
like
yeah.
I've always kind of been interested in them to some degree, like my work at when I was at Portland School of Astrology kind of really, when I say my work, what I was really into and focusing on was that. But I want to say it was through my first round of the Magician's Table that I started to connect with it with both Mars and Saturn, like in a much deeper way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and maybe that has to do with like the shame stuff. So I would say like the skillful wielding of malefic power.
Yeah. Ah, God, I love to hear that. And you
Yeah.
know what I'm wondering about is like the three signs I just mentioned
Hmm.
are kind of signs where you're like, how do you?
Yeah.
Because they're Mercurial and Jupiterian, you know?
Hmm.
Like how does one lean into that Mars, huh?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. The both and, or yeah, just being open to that. And then I think too, the way that you live, and not that you, again, are detailing like your whole life for all of us to like perceive, but the the way that you either create space for like your own maleficness and holding like your own approachability to those things, that's probably like another thing that if people see that. I also have recently come into my awareness of sometimes what I'm really excited about in someone else is something that I'm either probably repressed to some degree, or I'm really wanting to like also embody and express. And so there's a resonance that's kind of hard to put your finger on. Um
Yeah.
and but it comes back to like power. And I've had this whole like meander with like, oh, why was I interested in like the occult in the first place? It's because I felt powerless and I was seeking
Yeah.
other options for how to, and literally they all took me back to myself, just FYI, like spoiler alert. But what a fascinating ride. And so like when thinking about Pisces in particular and Virgo, and yeah, like how those more yin, the yin
Mhm.
polarity.
Yeah. Oh, I love this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I think on that point, which is 1000% what happens is you're attracted to in like a teacher mentor
Hmm.
what is emergent. Like go ahead and call it emergent in yourself, you
Yeah.
know? Um, but I do think my work very like openly shows me finding my voice. And I think people come into my space when there's like this yearning to find their voice in
Yeah.
like just to feel more in their own voice.
Oh, totally. So just example of that and going back to that year. I don't know if you remember this, Britain, because we've had so much time. It'll be 5 years next year since my Magician's Table
Oh,
experience, the first one. I had a different name. I
oh
didn't even
yeah,
I didn't even use my real name.
that's right. I remember your application. I remember you talking about
Yeah.
so many things that like I don't associate with you at all anymore because they're
Nope.
clearly not a struggle. I mean,
Yeah. But and so for listeners, if you're not familiar, because I don't think I've talked about that on the pod before, about that struggle in particular, but I was trying to skillfully play with, I guess, what I would now language as the wild twin.
yes. And that's a
Yeah.
great fun
So,
time.
so I had compartmentalized
Yeah.
myself. I had in Libra fashion, trying to balance the scales. I just split myself in two in a Gemini way,
Hmm.
and had that experience of, yeah. And I had entered Portland School of Astrology under a different name as well. Like I had this whole persona that I was going to play with and craft to try on. And granted, what I found was, fast forward, was I wasn't Vespertine either. Like
Uh-huh.
I was both. Like I just needed to kind of work on like how to integrate, I think, the malefic parts of myself. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have a wild one of the planetary power-ups is a wild twin one.
Nice. I love it. I love it.
Sneak peek. But I had completely forgotten. Yeah, it serves its time, until
Totally.
you feel more steady in who you're becoming. An alter ego is a great place to try things out.
I think because I didn't know, I wanted to be open to it, but also non-committal.
Yes.
Non-committal. I don't want to actually commit to that with not understanding it all the way. Like, yeah. And I think that's somewhat normal to kind of dance around it a little bit, kind of sense it out, you know?
Especially when you just articulated how important commitment is to you.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
giving
because
yourself
once
the
I,
right to dance with the non-committing makes your
yes,
commitments that much more powerful.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I don't, because once it's committed, it's, not that you can't sever those commitments, but it's a bigger deal. It's a much
Hmm.
bigger deal for sure. Well, Britton, it has been so thrilling to kind of walk down memory lane, be present, and then also kind of sharing a bit of the vision or painting the picture for us of living emergence. And so is there anything else that is present for you that you would like to speak into the space as we close?
Just gratitude for you, Erin.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. And that was the episode with Britton. I hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy chatting with Britton, as well as many of my guests, just about their own personal journey. And that's what Gnosis is, right? It's about us taking the information that we learn through books, through teachers, through the world around us, and making it our own through our own lived experience, right? It's one thing to know something in the mind. It's another thing to have lived through it or to have employed the knowledge or to have used it in a particular way. And I just find that so fascinating. It definitely makes life more interesting. So you can check out the links in the show notes to find out more about Living Emergence or Britain or myself. And I think that's all for now. So I am sending you so much love from all the places in between. Until next time.